Welcome, everybody. Today on FGC, we're doing an interview of our boy, our man here, Phatboi, aka Jeremiah. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. I'm happy to be here. TVFGC has been doing it, so for y'all to reach out to me and want to talk to me, it means the world to me.
Yeah, man. I'm just glad to have you, man. Like it's been a long time coming, man. You've been making some big strides and stuff. Like it's incredible. One of the things that I think about is like, you're kind of like the poster boy for what happens when you stay the course, right? And when you constantly work towards your goal, when you show your passion, it's a beautiful thing, man. I gotta admit.
They say love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. It's just a product of that.
Yeah, you're right, man. Like 100%, man. Like you're putting that into practice right now. But before we go any further, before I continue to gush about our boy here, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend?
Sure. So, for a lot of you who don't know me, you may have seen me comment on a lot of like hitbox related stuff on social media. But I'm Jeremiah. I come from Philadelphia. That's my region. A lot of people may know me in the fighting game community as Phatboi or that hitbox guy, but primarily Phatboi. I've been playing Street Fighter 5 and Tekken 7, and I do a lot with like my local Tekken community, Iron Fist Philly.
So let me ask you, man. Like, what initially made you like become so involved with hitbox?
Okay, so this is actually a really interesting story, right? So, for me, I have a background that's like very predominant in technology. So, I work with computers most, if not all, of my life. Like when I was a kid, I'd go with my mom to like bring her kid to work day, and I'd just sit in front of like a keyboard all day and kind of just pass the time. So for me, um, my typing speed is above average, to put simply. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even on like one of those like generic Dell keyboards, like they made me take a typing test, and the test thought I was cheating and said take it again.
Wow.
So I originally played on stick because that's all I really knew. Like everybody was like, yeah, you're playing on pad or you're playing on stick. So I kind of got my hands on a stick, and I wasn't really feeling it like I thought I would. And I kind of came across Hitbox one day on a whim. Like one of my old teammates, Punisher, was a Hitbox player. He plays Marvel 3. And I reached out to him one day, was like, hey man, I want to know more about Hitbox. Like, what's this about? The normal, why is there like no joystick? Where's your jump button? The normal like Hitbox questions.
Right.
And I remember getting my hands on one, and like immediately it just felt right. Like I couldn't explain it at the time. I'm like, I think this is the controller for me. And this was like back in like the Street Fighter 4 days. So it was like, if
Oh
you're not
wow.
playing pad and you're not playing stick, what are you playing? So I remember walking into my locals one day, like that really rough transition period, walking in with the hitbox, and they were
Mm-hmm.
like, Phatboi, what is this? What is this controller? What are you doing? What are you using this for? And I'm like, I don't know, it just feels right. Like, let me explore this and let's see what happens. And I got my butt kicked for a while. That's natural. When you're switching to something new, that's bound to happen. But I stuck with it. And even when I transitioned to like Street Fighter 5 and also playing Tekken 7, I felt like I started to hit my stride even more so, like in terms of like being comfortable with the device,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to execute things the way that I want to. So it all kind of just got started on a whim of, what's this controller? Let me try it for myself, and it all just paid off. I stuck with it, and here we are.
you know, like hitbox, like my story isn't as glorious as that, but basically, like everybody's like, yo, I was like, man, I don't want to be bad at fighting games, and I'm bad at fighting games, and I don't really like pad. Well, you should get a stick. I was like, okay, cool, I'll get a stick. And they're like, yo, man, if you're really gonna go that far, just skip over the stick and go straight to hitbox, because that's as good as it gets. And I was like, I don't even know what that is.
I was like, I don't know, but I'm gonna get it. Let's do it.
Yeah, right. So yeah, man, and I got it, and here we are. I'm also a hitbox player myself, and like I said, man,
Oh,
you are an inspiration, my friend, to hitbox players the world over. I'm telling you, bro. Like that is, I love that story. But one thing I heard recently, and perhaps you can like shed some light on this, is that are we like we've heard that you were like really into percussion, growing up, and you like you really were
Yeah.
into DJ Hero, and you actually wanted to DJ at one point. So like are you still like do you still really dabble in your musical side, or is that something that you kind of like you stepped away from, or what's going on with that?
Okay. So when I was in high school, like my senior project was about percussion mainly, and I always had an interest in anything that was like kinesthetic. So
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was like senior year of high school. They basically told us, okay, so you need like some sort of an elective. You can either like there's like a cooking class or there was like a music class, and they were like right across the hall from each other. So I remember like walking by one day, and I'm like, I really don't know which one I want to pick. Like, not to say that I can't cook, not to say that I can't play music, but
Right.
like, as I'm walking down the hall and I hear like what's happening in on both sides, I'm like, I feel like I want to pick music. And I walked in, I met the teacher. I'm like, hey, I think I want to take this as like my elective. Can you like sign the form for me? And we can go from there. So he signed the form, and when we had this music class, it was like every like 3 days a week. And that room had like every instrument possible. And at that time, it's maybe like a quarter through the year. I still couldn't figure out what I wanted to do my senior project on. So I remember like looking one day, and it was like generic like drumline sets. So it was like snare drums, quints, basses, all that kind of stuff. And I asked him, I said, hey, can I do my senior project on learning how to play drums from like a drumline perspective? And he said, well, you're going to need an advisor. You're going to need this. You're going to need that. Like, well, since you're already my teacher, can we just kill two birds with one stone? Can you just be my advisor? You sign off that I'm putting in hours for the project. All of my assignments can count towards hours being put into to learn the project itself. So, um, I went through all the steps, ended up being my advisor. The whole year was legitimately me learning like drumline focused percussion. And we went
Wow.
to like different places to perform. Like we performed at the Sixers game once.
Wow.
There was like a big like charter school kind of like congregation in like the middle of PA at one point, and they had us perform there. And as an introvert, those are like experiences that I never expected to happen by like deciding to want to like play music.
Mm-hmm.
And I am extremely grateful for that because it made me realize how much I like working with my hands and how much I like music. So when I went to college, they gave me scholarship money for like for percussion and things like that. And speaking on the DJ part, my dad was actually a DJ. So like when he was in
Oh
college,
wow.
yeah, at Morgan University, my dad was actually a DJ. His name was DJ 10K. And he always joked about it and was like Jeremiah, like when are you going to be DJ 5K? You're my kid. Is this happening? And I'm like, I don't know, pops. Like if this happens, cool. If not, it is what it is. But he was like proud of me pursuing, music in some capacity, even if it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't DJing. But I was always surrounded by that kind of stuff just growing up. Even though I never like really stuck with it as much as I would like to, I would like to say like my like talents with percussion definitely like translate well with like playing and utilizing hip hop.
You mentioned your family before. Like, how does your family feel? Like, what is your family's perspective on like what you've been doing with Hitbox? Like, where you like your content creation, all like you becoming basically the Professor Fats of the Hitbox. Like, how do they feel about that?
Oh, that's a really good story. Okay, so my mom is like one of those really like old school moms that are like from the South. If it's not like a real job or real focus,
Oh
like
yeah.
it's a waste of time. So even like when I was like initially getting involved with fighting games, I'm like, I'm going, hey mom, I'm going to this place on a Wednesday to go play. Hey mom, I'm going to this place on a Friday to go play. Why don't you go play football or go do this or do that? Like normal mom stuff. And I get it.
Right.
Growing up, I was kind of just like, come on, mom, like really, like let me just enjoy my life. But like
Right.
looking back at it, I get it. She just wanted my best interests at heart, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't fault her for that. So, maybe like a week or two ago, um, her and I actually like we talked on the phone. We fell off for a little bit, but we're like working on the whole mother-son dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to her on the phone. I said, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something really, really important." She's like, "Is this related to that game stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, it is. As a matter of fact, yes, it is." So I'm on like video call with her because I wanted her to like really understand where I was coming from about this. And I said, "I know you haven't been the most supportive of like me and my gaming ventures.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back at it, I get it. You just wanted to make sure that, you know, I was doing something like productive and staying out of trouble and, you know, just being safe overall." Because remember, like a few years back, actually may have been a little longer. Remember that whole thing that happened in Florida where they had like the Madden event and shooting happened and,
Yeah.
you know, it
Mm-hmm.
was all over the place.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
my mom, she keeps her eyes and ears open. So when she hears stuff like that, you know,
Mm.
even though it wasn't like Madden, it's still the fact that it was at a gaming event
Yeah.
and that stuff kind of happens. She was worried about it. So I explained to her, you know, even though you may not have been the most, you know, open to the whole gaming thing, you know, I've gotten into a lot of like video editing and content creation and, you know, going to tournaments and stuff. So when I told her about, you know, the whole Hitbox thing and how they recognize, you know, what I've been doing and how I've been really involved with like my gaming community, like I told her how help with like Iron Fist Philly and we do like tournaments and we do exhibitions and like a lot of that stuff. So she kind of cut me off as I'm going on a spiel, and she was like, "So you're basically telling me like all of what I've been saying, like it it didn't play out the way I expected to. Are you saying like this is a big fu because it all paid off for you?" And my mom, she's old school, so she doesn't curse. So she legitimately was like, "Is this a big fu?" I'm like, "You know what? When you put it that way, kinda. But I want you to know, like, this is something that I've been passionate about, and it's paying off.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, people like what I do, people enjoy what I put out, and I'm able to give people that have a similar interest a community that they can get involved in, that they can, you know, play games with, that they can ask questions with. That's a safe space for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what meant the most to me. And I think this was finally the moment that she understood, even though she was being protective, it was something that I built and something that I was proud to put my time and energy to. And she
Mm-hmm.
had to respect it. That's what it just boiled down to. She had to respect it.
Oftentimes, you know, you get into that, like, because there are a lot of people who kind of have that view on video game like related stuff in general. You know, it's like, I mean, even I remember like having a conversation with my aunt, and she was just kind of like, you know, I was like, hey man, I kind of want to do this, and she's got like, she kind of went off on me, like she went off kind of for a
Yeah,
while.
that definitely happens a lot.
So I'm kind of like, ooh man, I didn't realize you had such a strong opinion
Right? Like
about it.
I'm not gonna fault you for your opinion, but geez, I didn't know you were holding this in for so long.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, yo. Let me ask you another question. So you have a IT background, is that's correct? Like you were like you
I do.
IT.
That's what my
So,
bachelor's in. Yes, sir.
oh wow, like where'd you go to school?
I went to the Pennsylvania State University.
Wow, awesome, man. That's amazing. That's pretty cool, bro. Man, wow, man. Like, when did you graduate?
I graduated in it was 2016 because I had a little bit of time where I couldn't decide on a major, and then I like transferred campuses, and then like they didn't take some of my credits, so it like forced
Oh,
me to retake a couple courses. So at that point, I'm like, I'm just gonna double major. If you're going to take my credits away from me, I'm just gonna double major. So I walked out with a bachelor's in science for information science and technology and security risk analysis.
wow. Okay. So let me ask you, man. Do you feel like you've ever wanted to like bring that, incorporate that into the FGC, or have you already found ways that you think like you've been like, yo, I've already done that, man. I'm already there, like incorporating my IT prowess into the FGC. Like, what's it look like for you, man?
So the one thing about me is that, especially with like having that IT background, is that I think a lot of numbers. Like I
Mm-hmm.
like hard, concrete facts and understanding, you know, what situations allow what. So that translates into me looking really heavily into like the frame data side of things. So a lot of like my play style and my approach to how I see fighting games is very like oriented on the numbers itself. Now, of course, that's a double-edged sword because in some ways, you want to play by heart. Like I think there was like a
Right.
video I seen. It was like you play by heart, you play by body, you play by mind. And playing by heart is you're willing to take those hard risks and those reads. Playing by mind is like you're really like adamant about the numbers. And the body is like the execution and being able to, do something and think something and being able to do it.
Right.
And me personally, I'm definitely a mind and a body player because since I look at numbers so much, I want to know if something is -7, I'm here with this -7 punish. And that's a lot of people may be like, well, you're playing so much by the book, you miss out on a lot of things. Sure, that's fair. There is technically no real wrong way to look at and approach fighting games.
Right.
Whatever my definition of Street Fighter is may differ from your definition of Street Fighter. Whatever my definition of Tekken is may differ from yours. If I play very heavily off of, punishment for, something on block or, playing a really like compact and defensive game, maybe your approach is I want to play super aggro and taking risks and looking for counter hits. And, I just think my background and like computers kind of just like directly applies to how I see fighting games.
Number one, when you say you want to go super aggro and you look for counter hits, that is that's exactly how I play the game. Okay, like that is exactly how I play just about every game.
If somebody doesn't want to block, listen, that's their fault. Thanks for the life bar. Thanks for that donation. I appreciate it.
Thanks for the donation, bro. But let me ask you, so in terms of frame data, because I know like as personally speaking, I found it. I'm not even have found it. I find it as in I'm currently finding it difficult getting to that point where I can not only look at the frame data but remember it, like consistently remember it. And it's like, what do you think about that? What do you think is like a good way to like, kind of like, I guess get used to that, to like start doing that? Where's a good place to start with that?
So I think a good place to start is definitely training mode. Mainly because a lot of like these modern day games, they have some sort of like practice tool that even if they don't give you like the numbers, it gives you some sort of like example of, hey, you can punish with this, which not everybody, can learn by the numbers, and there's no fault in that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really just depends on if you can't learn by the numbers, if you've been in a situation many times, you understand, okay, I can at least punish with this. I can do this. Maybe I can duck this. Maybe I can step this. So, as much as the numbers play a very crucial part, I know a lot of people who their knowledge of the numbers isn't strong, but their knowledge of the game is. And that definitely like is a huge help for them. Like I've seen people like optimally punish something, and I'll ask, "Did you know that was that punishable?" Nah, I've just been here before. And I feel that. I feel that. Like when you've seen the same situation 1,000 times, you're like, I know. So it doesn't even have to be. To me, it's like I know this is -15. To them, they're like, I can hop kick, and it's that simple. It depends on how you approach it and how your brain just translates the situations that you're in. But definitely, I would say training mode. And I know like what's the do training mode. Everyone's like, I just want to go online. I just want to press buttons. I want to have fun, and that's cool.
You're reading my mind
That's fine
here.
and dandy. I just think we have so many tools in training mode that can really help you understand like if the numbers isn't your jam, there's something there that you can pull and use that and apply to how you want to play the game.
I can definitely get down with that. It's just like it's always been like I want to learn frame data. I really do, because I feel like it would help me improve. But at the same time, man, it's just like I am kind of like that. Yo, man, I've been here before kind of player. Like I'm like if I'm playing like Soul Calibur, it's like, wow, did you know you could punish with that? It's just like, nah, man. I just tried it. I just tried it a few times and it worked that a few times, and I'm like, okay, I know that it works here, so that's pretty much it. But as somebody who's playing by the numbers, like I've heard that you also play another game that's kind of like completely by the numbers. I heard that at one point you were really into League of Legends. So
Oh, how did
yeah.
you find this out? Where are you finding this information?
Yo, you're like not like I guess Nardwall would say. I guess if you're Phatboi, it's our job to know. We have to know.
Oh man, you got me. You got me. So, I have actually been playing League of Legends since like season 2. So, it's been a really really long time, and I could definitely say my approach to League of Legends is very similar. Like I'm a very by the numbers kind of guy, and I played a little bit of every role. So like, I felt like my logic behind it was, I always end up playing a game and somebody's playing really bad in X role. I'm gonna learn this role.
Mm-hmm.
I started off, I think I started off playing mid, and I got tired of like really bad junglers. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna learn how to jungle. So I was playing like Warwick, I was playing like Nasus, Cho'Gath, like some really like safe junglers to kind of just like understand the fundamental approach of how do I want to play this lane. Xin Zhao, let's not forget Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao was really good. So I played like the really like by the book junglers and kind of just like learned it from there. And then it turned into, we always lose the game because our AD carry's bad. So I learned carry. So I learned Caitlyn. I learned Ashe. I learned like Lucian and like characters that I found fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I played Caitlyn because she was super safe. You play by the book. You punish people if they step forward too far. You rinse and repeat. And I got tired of bad supports because if you have a good carry and a bad support, game's over. So I learned how to play support. So I was playing Blitzcrank. I was playing Thresh, support Annie, Nami, you know, stuff that I'm like, I can complement somebody's play style. Like if you play aggro, I got Blitzcrank. If you like to chill and kind of play passive and you just want to annoy people, I got Lulu, I got Annie, I got Nami. And then it just evolved into every top laner is bad. And that was my home. Then I learned I'm meant to be a top laner. Deep down, I learned in my heart of hearts, my job is to be a top laner. So I played Renekton. Renekton is my favorite top lane character of all time. I seen Dyrus, like a pro league player, he's playing Renekton, and I'm like, this character's for me. He's so simple. But if you like understand game mechanics, you just excel. So I played Renekton, I played Nasus, I played Cho'Gath, and I would just sit there and be a brick wall. Guys, don't worry about me. I'll see y'all in 20 minutes. Just don't die. I'll see y'all in 20 minutes. I'm at every objective. I'm in every team fight. I'm taking towers. Like, I'm playing the objective game, which is what I like. Like, if everybody else plays bad and I play objectively, we have a better chance of succeeding because we now have more resources available to us.
Right.
So I learned League on a whim in college in our game room. So I walked past and I seen someone playing and I'm like, I don't know what this game is, but it looks interesting. And the guy who taught me his first lesson, learn how to CS. If you can't kill minions and you can't get gold, you're not going to excel. So you know what this guy did? Every day we'd play a custom game. Me on one team, him on the other. No, we were on the same team actually. We'd both play top lane. If you don't kill this minion, I'm gonna kill it. You know what happens? You miss out on gold. 20 minutes. Hey, how much gold do you have? I got like 800. That's crazy. I got like 4,000 gold. Do better.
Oh man.
And we would rinse and repeat. And it forced me to learn, no matter what role I play, I'm gonna learn how to farm. Because if I don't have gold, how can I play the game?
Right. I started playing my League of Legends myself. I think it was last year, like the end of last year. And one of the things, like, yeah, man, I started out as a jungle, so as you can imagine, I was terrible. I was absolutely horrible. Like, you would not.
That's such a rough role to start with. Oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah, I was absolutely terrible. I played, and the character I played with was Fiddlesticks. So I was.
Oh, Fiddle was so fun.
Yeah, I love Fiddlesticks.
Were you playing old Fiddle or like new Fiddle?
I was playing new Fiddle.
Oh, you missed out on the days of old Fiddle. That character was annoying.
Oh, was he? Like I had no idea, man. Like I think I played I think my brother might have wanted me to play, and I was just like, nah, I'm good. And then when I started playing, I'm like, oh man, this character looks cool, bro. And it's like, oh man, Fiddlesticks. It's like, bro, I'm terrible at this game. I'm so horrible. Everybody's like, bro, why are you starting off playing jungle? It's like, I think he's a cool looking character.
It was fun.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm still terrible at jungle, but I've learned a couple of new characters. Like I learned Lucian too, Ziggs. But I think like my favorite character is Mordekaiser. I think like my favorite character is Mordekaiser.
That's a good one.
Yeah, man, he's amazing, amazing.
Beat them down, just
yes, dude. It's like playing
That's
Astaroth in League of Legends. Like
exactly it. That's exactly it. Hit level 6. I want to fight you and
you alone, just you.
Not knowing anybody else.
And if I win, I'm taking your stats. Oh,
that's
man.
What makes it even better. You better beat me, because if I win, I'm coming out of this fight and your whole team is in trouble.
Yeah, holy moly. Oh man. All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry over here gushing about like League of Legends and stuff.
It's all good, man. Good times.
So let's talk more about you, okay? Like you're like you mentioned before, Iron Fist Philly. You're a tournament organizer. Tell us about the origins of Iron Fist Philly, and what are you doing now, Iron Fist Philly, and what are your future plans? Like, what are your goals going forward for Iron Fist Philly?
Okay, so this is a really good question, actually. So Iron Fist Philly actually started as a passion project. This was like when we were still like offline and we had access to like go to our like venues and play games. So in like the early part of Tekken 7, we didn't really have a lot of people that were like interested in playing Tekken. It was like maybe like a good 4 or 5 consistent people that were like, I just want to play. And we would have like our locals, like we'd have them on Wednesdays, and we'd have a couple Tekken setups, and you wouldn't really see that many people, but you'd see people for like Street Fighter, Under Night, Dragon Ball Fighters. And that's not to knock any of those other games. It's just those are the more prominent games, but you had those couple of people who really wanted to play Tekken. So Iron Fist Philly originally was just a passion project of those individuals getting together, playing offline, and kind of just like wanting to learn and get better. So this was before like IPP even had a name. It was just a group of people who just wanted to play and learn. So it started off with like Commander, Sneaker O'Toole, which was the original founder. He's the person that started it all for Iron Fist Philly. Afro, me, and a couple of other people who just wanted to play. So we would come into our venue on a Saturday. We'd set up a PS4. We'd all play like first to 5s and first to 10s. Then we'd sit down, watch the footage back, and just be constructive. Why'd you do this? This is unsafe. This is a 2 throw. This is a 1 throw. You shouldn't roll this way. Like genuine constructive criticism. And it got to a point where like people heard about what we were doing, so more people would come out. And when we started to have like our monthly tournaments, you'd see people that were in Philly that we didn't know about. You'd see people from Maryland, you'd see people from Virginia, etc. So it got to a point where there are so many people that are active and they want to play. Let's make this a thing. So that's when Sneaker O'Toole, he took that idea and said, let's get people together, let's get people to play. And to be completely honest, I wasn't originally like an admin of Iron Fist Philly. I actually started off as a person who just wanted to come and play, but I got pulled in on the early stages of things. So before the whole pandemic, we would have like our bi-weeklies every Friday at our locals. And this was when it was mainly just like Afro and Sneaker O'Toole. And Afro would work on Fridays more often than not. So he would message me, hey Fats, can you run the bracket? Can you update the scores and everything? It's like, I'll pay your venue. Just can you help me with this? Can you do me a solid? And I'm like, we boys, we're friends. Why wouldn't I? I'm off on a Friday. I'll come through and I'll help out. And that's when things started to grow. Our venue started to see, wow, you guys are having a lot of people. Would y'all like to start having a stream to go with your events? You can start uploading your matches online. And that's when things really started to progress because they hooked us up with overlays. They had like the head-to-head cameras and the setups and the whole production value. So like shout outs to Dre at local host at Nerd Street. He was the one who really helped with like a lot of the production stuff. And as things started to grow more and more, that's when we decided like there's other regions outside of the Philadelphia area. Like there's like Allentown, which is maybe like 30 to 45 minutes away outside of Philly. Then there's
Mm-hmm.
like New Jersey, people who come out from New Jersey to our events too. We decided why not make this a circuit? So like that first year of Iron Fist Philly was a circuit between like events in Philadelphia, events in Jersey, events that were in Allentown, events that were Hatboro, which is maybe like 30 minutes outside of Philadelphia as well. That was like the mutual meeting point between Philadelphia and Allentown. They would come out to that venue. We'd come out every other Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd get points for that. And it was like a year-long circuit where it was like top 8 or like top 16 people played in a bracket. And, you know, winner got bragging rights. They got like free venue for like one of the majors that were coming up for Big E. It was great because Big E worked with us to do that. He said, y'all want a free venue? Sure. Even like for our monthlies, even the guy that was running it was like, yo, you want the winner to get like free venue and entry to like our event, like our big event? We're like, if you're willing to work with us, sure, why not? So it was a lot of like, we just happened to do something that we loved, and it paid off. And that's when I got pulled in, and Afro and Sneaker O'Toole was like, hey, you've been doing a lot because, you know, Afro's been busy with work. We want to pull you on board as like one of the admins to like help out. And that's Commander was kind of just in it because he was the one that was sitting down with people being constructive and everything else. And Sneaker O'Toole kind of turned into a family man. So it became the three of us that really stepped up and said, we want to do something that's bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we have indirectly built this community. We do not want to see this community falter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we took it upon ourselves that we want to do more. And when the pandemic happened and we were kind of like, we don't know what we want to do. We don't know the direction that we want to take with this, but we know that we have like one really good shot at making something happen. And it's either going to go really good or really bad. So we need to take a minute and decide what we're going to do now, since offline is going to be not a thing for however long this pandemic happens. And that's when we started with kind of like the first of 5 sessions. And, you know, we would have people that would normally attend our events, like the Philadelphia, the New Jersey, and the Delaware area. We would have people from those areas like playing first of 5 sets. And, you know, that's when we started to make it something more concrete. So we developed a leaderboard and we got our overlays together. And, you know, my brother, Gaming Bros, he hooked us up with some overlays too. And he said, hey guys, I can animate y'all a scoreboard. And, you know, we can start building stuff up. So we had people who just wanted to see something happen, and they all played their key role, whether it was like my brother making scoreboards and animations, or people signing up to play, people watching in the chat, whatever the case may be. Everybody in some capacity played a key role in making it all happen. And then that's when we got to that point of, we're doing these sessions. First, we need a name of some sort. Second, we need to add something else to the roster. So for a while, we were just calling them first of 5 sessions. We didn't have a name, so we were just like first of 5 sessions. That's it. So we were kind of like stuck with names for a while, and people were like throwing stuff like Broad Street Beatdowns, because Broad Street is like a key road in Philadelphia. So we were like Broad Street Beatdowns, and then somebody threw out Cheesesteaks and Throwbreaks. And given that it's Philadelphia, cheesesteak plays such a crucial part in like Philadelphia culture. We were all like, that's perfect. That's it. That's the name. And still to this day, I don't even notice like how much of a reach that we have, because I hear like people talking about it all over the place. People from like out of the US come to our streams and say, hey, it's like 3 a.m. here in Germany. We just wanted to say what's up. Like, wow, we're just here to play Tekken and y'all want to come and watch. And then like, even though we have like our demographic here for like tri-state Tekken, you know, a lot of the other TOs in the area, you know, who were doing it before we even decided to get involved. Like shout outs to Puppy Swarm with like Chicago Tekken, Helst with NYC Tekken, Cha Cha for like Buffalo Tekken. Like all of them are like really supportive of what we've been doing and
Mm-hmm.
then some. And it's great that like, even though we're all East Coast, also Ed with Trace Complete. Let me not forget Ed. Shout outs to Ed. Um, even though we're all like East Coast and Midwest, the fact that we're all like, for one, supportive of each other's events. You know, nobody wants to step on anybody's toes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like to see the interaction between like all of these different TOs when we were just a bunch of rabble rousers that just wanted to play Tekken, and we made the conscious decision that we wanted to do more. And that's when we like started to add tournaments. And you know, you got tournaments, you want to get paid, so we got Matcherino. And having all of those different platforms and people that wanted to get involved and help us make what Iron Fist Philly is, to me as an individual who transitioned to Tekken, and to see that community grow, it really like touched my heart, because I never expected to get into Tekken. I kind of just wanted to learn it on a whim because we had people there.
Mm-hmm.
And I evolved more from like a player to more of like a TO content creator kind of role.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good because I can give back to the community of people who helped us become a community. Because at first we weren't. We were just people who all just happened to be in the same place at the same time.
Right.
So to go from that to something we can proudly call a community, I couldn't ask for anything.
So, and like with all that being said, what are you as you fat boy? What is like your what do you see in the future for Iron Fist Philly? Like going forward, like what do you see? Like in the near future, the distant future. What is your perception of what's going to be happening?
So my perception of Iron Fist Philly, and I've actually been thinking about this for a while. So we have so much going, like with Cheesesteaks and Throwbreaks and with like our bi-weekly gulag tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with the people that we had involved in our communities, there's still a lot of like unknown faces that deserve screen time. And when I
Mm-hmm.
say screen time, I don't mean, hey, you play on stream, or hey, I'm gonna upload your video to our YouTube channel. I mean, just like we're doing now, I want to do something that's more intimate with our players, because
Right.
all of them play such a crucial part. Whether you go 0-2, whether you win the tournament, whether you share it in some capacity on your social platforms, I want to know about you. And I teased this idea with like Commander and Afro and a lot of the community. But in like the next upcoming months, I'm gonna start doing like player interview series, you know, just so we can see, you know, maybe you didn't come from Tekken. Maybe you played Soul Calibur and you said, you know what, Tekken's cool, and it stuck with you.
Yeah.
Maybe you played with your cousins growing up and they used to beat your butt all the time and then you got better than them. Like there's so many untold stories that deserve some screen time, that deserve some light, so you can have more of an understanding and respect. And it's not just like, oh, this is Phatboi, he plays Jack. This is Jeremiah. Jeremiah like really learned from the ground up. And
Right.
it's stories like that that everybody deserves to know.
I cannot agree with you more. Definitely, the stories, they all need to be heard. With that being said, you said that you transitioned to Tekken. So let me
Yeah.
ask you, man, what exactly, tell us the story of how you got into fighting games, period. Like, I want to know everything from the moment you picked up the sticks until right now. What exactly is the story of Phatboi in fighting games?
So this is actually a story I never like told anybody. Not for the sake of like its length, but I never really had like that opportunity to tell it. But I think it's a really interesting tale. So just like a lot of people, I grew up playing fighting games with like a lot of my siblings. So like even though I was an only child, you know, always during the holidays, everybody would come over the house. I had in the basement, because my parents were like, we're not having the Sega Genesis in the living room. In the basement, where it was cold, because heat rises, so it was cold in that basement. We had fold-up chairs. We had the CRT on top of the washing machine, and my Sega Genesis was plugged in with Mortal Kombat for Sega Genesis. So all of my cousins would come over, and they were all older than me. They would beat me senseless in that game, and I was like, I never realized how much fighting games was like a part of my life
Mm-hmm.
before I even like really got involved. So like we would play Mortal Kombat. They'd kick my butt. I didn't know fatalities. I didn't know the blood code. I didn't know anything. I was just like, Sub-Zero looks cool. He freezes people. They never told me like if you freeze somebody twice, you freeze yourself. I'm just playing the game. I'm just having fun. Then it kind of just like it evolved into I went from like my Sega Genesis, like my Sega Saturn, and we were playing Mortal Kombat on there. So that's when like the combo system got more intricate, because you had like the run system, you had like the combo system that was like based off the bar that was at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I at that point still was just like, I'm just enjoying playing, but also I just want to beat my cousins. So like
Right.
that's when I started to play. Like I'd fight the CPU, I put in the hardest difficulty, and I just learned. I'd get my butt kicked and I'd learn. And I think it got to a point like fighting games fell off for me for a while as I was growing up, until like kind of like the Xbox days and like the Dreamcast days, because I got a Dreamcast. I think I won it in a raffle at the bowling alley I used to bowl with, and I won it in a raffle, and I was super excited. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna play on this thing, but I got a Dreamcast. And in that bowling alley, there was the big arcade machine for Marvel 2. I'll never forget
Oh
it.
boy.
Like right there when you walk in the door, right to your left, the big arcade machine from Marvel 2. And I would spend my mom's quarters. They were my quarters. I'd be like, Mom, can I get $1? I'd spend my mom's quarters on Marvel 2 religiously. I remember, what was it? I picked Cable, Mega Man, Iron Man, because they had guns. I'm like, you stay over there. I'm gonna shoot my guns. We're gonna have a good time. And my mom realized, I think this was like one of the very rare times she like truly invested in me in fighting games in some capacity. She found somebody that could burn CDs, and she found a guy to burn me a CD copy of Marvel 2.
Wow.
So like it was like you've seen like the bootleg cases where it's like an all black case, no cover art, and the magic marker written on there what the name of the game is. That's
Yeah.
what it was. And I was so excited. I went home and like I popped that in my Dreamcast, and she bought me the memory card so I could save all my stuff. And I just played Marvel 2 on controller. And now growing up, I'm like, that was the worst thing ever. My hands killed me for that.
Oh yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I had so much fun like playing fighting games. And I remember my cousins came over once and they were like, Marvel 2? What do you know about Marvel 2? And I'm like, well, I got a controller. He came in with his controller. He plugged his controller in. We just play Marvel 2 for hours at a time. And I wouldn't even know what time. Well, I'd blink. It's like 6 o'clock in the evening. But I enjoyed it so much. And I just had, like, it was just that feeling of like, I'm connecting with an individual without talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I just enjoyed it so much. So I went from like Dreamcast Marvel 2 to Soul Calibur 2 on the Xbox.
Oh yeah.
And that was the one that had Spawn on it. But I didn't play Spawn. I played Talim and I played Taki. I thought those characters were cool. This is when, in my younger days, I was like, I'm all about mix-ups and pressure and movement. And I enjoyed that stuff. So we would play, it would come over, and I remember Soul Calibur 2 had like that team versus game mode. And you could pick up to like 8 players, 8 characters on the same team. And they were like, oh, I'm gonna pick these 8 players. I'm like, I'm just picking Talon, bro. I don't care who you pick. I'm just playing Talon. So picture like 10-year-old Phatboi fighting against like his 16-year-old cousin with a roster of 8 people, and he's just playing Talon and winning. That's it. That was the game. And you're like, what? But I have 8 people. I don't know, man. I'm just doing what I do.
We gotta tell him.
That's it, right? We have an army. We have a Talon. That's it.
Oh
So
man.
I think like fast forwarding from there, like my next like real interaction with fighting games was like in high school. And that's when I learned about like gaming emulation and understanding I don't have to have the physical console to truly play a game and
Mm-hmm.
still enjoy it for like to still have that experience. So this was like ninth grade, 10th grade. I met this kid who in the community goes by DZ Kujaku, and he changed my life forever. Shout outs to him. That is like a lot of people may think like Lucky D or like Jackie Tran or like people who really like put me in the right direction with fighting games, and they did to a capacity. But
Mm-hmm.
like growing up, DZ was the person who actually made me more passionate for fighting games than I already was.
Wow.
So we had like a computer room like in high school, and it was like a whole L shape of like computers just lined up, and on this one specific computer, DZ hit a folder that had the MAME emulator for all the arcade games, and in that folder of games he had KOF 98. And I seen this character, and everybody who knows me knows. And it comes to KOF, there's one character that will always have my eye, and that character is Shermie. So I
Ah,
remember
yeah.
seeing Shermie, and I'm like, this beautiful woman is grappling and throwing people and lightning and all this cool stuff. And I'm like, I want to play this game. So I sat down next to him one day. I'm like, yo, I want to play this game, bro. And it's on keyboard. Nobody's bringing a controller to school. So we split the keyboard in half in terms of like what controls are on what. And we're playing KOF 98. And it got to a point that I was so invested in this game, I copied the files on a USB drive and put them on the computer next to his. And he would play, and then I would play, and I'd ask him questions. And that was like that real first interaction of fighting games that wasn't like a family member. And I'm
Right.
like, I enjoy this so much. I want to do this more. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to do so or like know where to do so. So after that interaction, like I always stayed in touch with DZ. We boys, we're cool. Shout outs to him. My real like official interaction with fighting games in the community was my sophomore year in college. So I met a group of individuals where this is like the Street Fighter 4 days. We had like this game room in my college, and it was called the Intersection. And it was like two big flat screen TVs in the back, and there's a bunch of tables and chairs and stuff. So like people want to do their homework or whatever, they could do all that stuff over there. And then there was like another TV when you would walk in. It was like a round table where maybe if people wanted to like plug up something and play games together, like Mario Party or something. But unofficially, those two TVs in the back were like dedicated for like somebody brought their PS3 and they were playing like Marvel 3 or like Blaze Blue or Guilty Gear or something. And then the
Nice.
other one was always Street Fighter. We don't know why. The other one was just always Street Fighter 4. So I remember meeting these two people. We went to the same university, and like those are like, you ever meet somebody in the community and it's like they feel like family to you?
Oh
Like
yeah.
they feel like your brothers. That's how I feel about those two guys. So um it was Terrell and it was Graham. And I met those two dudes, and those two dudes, like, we made a team. That was the day we all were like, we like Street Fighter. We made a team. And we were like, we're just a bunch of nerds playing fighting games. So we were like, but what are we gonna call ourselves? The team name was Obscure Connoisseurs. Because you're just a nerd. When you're a nerd, you're just an obscure connoisseur. You are passionate about something really abstract. So that was us. So it was OC Phatboi. It was OC Grakuma. He played Akuma in Street Fighter 4. Um, and it was what was his tag? Uh, OC Shimantazuma. He was big into culture for like the gods and stuff,
Uh-huh.
like Aztec gods and stuff. So like that was something he was passionate about. So like we all played Street Fighter 4. Grakuma played Graham. Shimantazuma played Ibuki. And I played Dudley. And everybody crapped on me for playing Dudley because they're like, this is your first exposure to Street Fighter. Why would you pick Dudley, pick Ryu? I'm like, well, first he's black. Like, first and foremost, this man is black.
There you go.
Second, he's got the hands. Third of all, the taunt where he throws the rose, exquisite. Like, I'm sold on those 3 principles alone. And we would all like play Street Fighter in the intersection, and we would all like have fun and have a good time. But then we were like, but there's got to be other people in Philly that also play games. Like, if I met y'all two, who else could be out there in Philly doing the same thing? So I remember I was on Twitch on a Friday night one day. I was a huge stream monster. I'd be tuning in every next level. I'd be tuning in to like every major that was on. And I remember like scrolling through Twitch, and on a whim, the algorithm just showed Temple Tournaments Philly FGC.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the game room of our local university, and was some dude with a karaoke microphone plugged into his computer commentating the match, and his name was Mr. Fu. Mr. Fu, I'm forever grateful to you, because if I would have never seen that stream, we would not be having this conversation.
Oh wow.
So I typed in the chat, I clicked on it, I'm like, Philly FGC? That means they're playing fighting games. They were playing Street Fighter 4. So I clicked it, and it's 2 dudes sitting next to each other. They got the webcams in the corner, and they're playing Street Fighter on Xbox 360. So I type in the chat, I'm like, I also play Street Fighter. Where is this happening at? I would love to come out. And Fu said, we're at Temple University, drops me the address. Come to find out, that university was literally 1 subway ride away from me and a 5-minute walk.
Wow.
That next Friday, I had my pad in hand, because I played on pad originally. I had my pad in hand, put it in my book bag. I was out. Soon as I woke up, and they were like, we can start getting there around like 4 o'clock, whatever. I'm like, cool, I don't have classes on Friday. I took my butt to Temple. I got my butt handed to me all night. I had the greatest time of my life. That game room was open from 4 in the afternoon till 2 in the morning.
Wow.
And I was just there just playing fighting games, getting my butt kicked. Because these guys, I'm pretty sure seasoned dudes, they've been there from the rip. So there's people in that room. They're playing Street Fighter 4. They're playing Tekken Tag 2. They're playing Marvel 3. And everybody is like, they're grinding it out. They're getting those games, and they're getting better. And I realized this is where I'm supposed to be. This is my home. I wish I found it sooner, but I was so happy to find it then and there.
Right.
And I started coming out like clockwork. I started playing Marvel 3 just to learn. I was never good at it. I just learned like one basic B&B, because Philly's a Marvel city. So they're like, Phatboi, if you're going to be here, you got to play Marvel. All right, I'm going to try. I tried. I could do one Wesker B&B and a Dr. Doom foot dive loop. That's all I could do. That's all I got in me.
Wait, then I could do.
Listen, it took me forever to learn just that. And we played Marvel 3, and then I was like, but this Street Fighter 4, like this is what pulled me. This is what got me to come out. So I'm getting my butt handed to me by everybody. I don't care. I'm losing to Zangief, Adon, Evil Ryu, Boxer, Sagat, Dowsum, the whole shebang. Everybody is cooking me, but I'm okay with it. I'm like, I love this so much. And I remember, I think it was like one Friday we were there. Somebody had said something about a tournament. I'm like, I don't know what a tournament is, but there's fighting games and I want to be there. So it was at some mall that was almost on like the cusp of Philadelphia. Shout outs to Emily for this, Jen Million. She was the one who hosted the tournament.
Oh, wow.
And the night before that tournament, my pad broke. Like that Friday, we were at Temple. We were all playing. My pad broke. I had one of those Xbox 360 Street Fighter Cross Tekken fight pads. It broke.
Yeah.
I mean, like snapped open, components came out, right trigger broke. I was like, what do I do? I signed up for this tournament. I already committed, and it just shattered, gone. Like it was FUBAR. There was no bringing it back.
Wow.
So somebody local was like, I have a fight stick that I'm selling for $50. And it was like the really small, like the Mad Catz SE, not like the T, the SE, the little white one with the small buttons and stuff. It was maybe like this big, this wide, like the size of a birthday cake. And I'm like, you know what? It's better than nothing. Take my $50. I didn't know what I was doing, but I already was committed to going to this tournament. I didn't care. I was
Right.
so happy to say I could still play fighting games. And my first exposure to high level play when I was there was Minion was there, and he cooked me with jury for an hour and a half straight. I'm pretty sure he will never remember this, but I sat down and was like, I just want to play Street Fighter. Can I get next? And they're like, Phatboi, you know who that is, right? No, I just want to play. I don't know who this is. They're like, that's Minion. He's from New York. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
at that point, I still didn't know what that means. So I was just happy to play it. He smoked me. I got frustrated, but that's the name of the game. He was a better player than me. Like, in that case, you have to accept that the better player, more often than not, is going to win. So he was beating my butt. And he was like, I feel like you're the type of person who wants to learn, and I would love to play you again when you get better. And I feel like that interaction is what made me really want to stay more than I already wanted to, because it wasn't like I'm a punching bag at that point. It was more of, you're a person who's also in the same community as me. I want to see you grow.
Right.
And whether Minion remembers that interaction or not, that meant so much to me. And I just stuck with it. And, you know, when Street Fighter 5 came out, I'm like, well, I got involved in Street Fighter 4 like early arcade 2012, like maybe like a week or two before Ultra came out. So I was like really, really coming in at like the ender part of Street Fighter 4. So when 5 came out, I was excited to say, you know what, I can learn something from the ground up. I can be a part of this game in the community as it's starting. So that during that transition between like Street Fighter 4 to Street Fighter 5 is when I started playing Hitbox. And that's when I started getting smoked all over again. But I was okay with it. So there was actually a brief time where I went back to Stick because a close friend of mine was like, yo, I'm playing Marvel 3 and I really want to play this game on Hitbox. And I had a Hitbox. I'm like, bro, I'll just sell it to you. It's like, here, you can $100. You want to play on Hitbox? I have a Stick. Why am I being stingy? So I sold it to him, not for the fact that I needed the money, but for the fact that you clearly want to play on Hitbox.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I actually got the Hitbox back maybe like a year ago.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I call that Hitbox the prodigal son. That was my very first Hitbox. So like, I have so much pride in that Hitbox. And it's a little beat up. It's seen some better days. I'll have to send you a picture one of these days, because I think I might have put it up somewhere. Yeah, I think I put it up somewhere. But I'll send you a picture so you can see what I'm talking about.
Nice.
But I sold him that Hitbox, and shortly after, I was like, I really regret doing this, because I felt like when I sold it to him, like I sold a piece of my heart, and I didn't realize how much it meant to me until I handed it to him and he handed me the money. And I'm not an Indian giver. I'm not going to be like, yo, bro, give me my Hitbox back. Like, I'm a man of my word. So when I had that opportunity to switch back again, I immediately was like, I'm switching back again. And it felt right. And that's when I started to get more like involved with Street Fighter on Hitbox and playing Hitbox Dowsum, where everybody, it was like, you're a madman. You're an absolute madman. And I agree. I will be the first one to admit playing Hitbox Dowsum is the craziest thing anyone could fathom in Street Fighter. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much. And I think that's when I really started to kind of get to where I'm at now, where I started to really start to get more involved with the community, because when that new game comes out, everybody wants to play it all the time. So you can always find somebody to play Street Fighter 5. Every Wednesday, we meet up at like this bubble tea spot. People were bringing their laptops with the beta and changing the CPU mode so player 2 could play, and the health bars would drain, and if you lost all your health, it would like reset. We were all grinding it out on people's laptops, drinking bubble tea. Like, there were so many people who came out to that tea spot. The trash can was filled with nothing but bubble tea and snacks. We supported that venue to the max. When every Wednesday, listen, they were like, sorry guys, we're sold out of chicken. Sorry guys, we sold out of French fries. Sorry guys, this flavor of bubble tea is sold out. We don't have the ingredients. So like, we came out to play in droves, and we respected the fact that they allowed us to use their venue to play. And I will always appreciate that, because that'll show you, even when you don't have a real venue, that if there is some place to play, people will show out. Because it got to a point where Temple, well, they were like, if you're not a Temple student, you can't use the game room anymore. So we didn't have a spot. We didn't have like a true spot. And I'm not gonna fault Temple for that. Like that, they got rules. They just allowed us to use their space. So when we had those Wednesdays, people had like their laptops and like the portable games monitors. You ever see those where you like put the console in there with the flip case? People are coming out with that to play Marvel 3. Like, man, I got pictures, so many pictures of those days. Oh man. So it got to a point where we officially had like a venue, and it was called DevNuts. And it was initially like a space for coders to come in and like have like a quiet space to code and program and do whatever they want to do. But they split the building in half. So it became half LAN center and then like half a coding space. But then that LAN center, because we had so many people who wanted to play fighting games, they were like, why are we not appealing to these individuals?
Right.
So they started to buy PlayStations in droves. They bought like Street Fighter 5. They bought Marvel 3. They had like all of that good stuff. So then we started having these monthlies called Go for Broke. And it was like Street Fighter 5. It was Marvel 3. Like Guilty Gear Revelator 2. Yeah. So people were coming out. And I remember like my first couple of times coming out there, because I was still like kind of new to the tournament scene. I just was really involved with my community, but I wanted to just play. So I put my money in the pot. I gave them my venue fee, and I was just getting my butt handed to me. But that's cool. And then it got to a point, just like everything else, when you keep putting time into something, you get better. So I went from going 0-2, I was going 1-2. I was going last round with some people, and I started to see the growth and progression of myself as a player. And I never expected to see that, because I was always the type of person I'm just happy to be here, man. Like when people would ask me, how are you doing? How's your games going? Bro, I'm just happy to be here. I don't care how the games go. I'm just happy to be here. And that's the thing. We started getting more events like Red Bull Conquest in Philadelphia and Big E Major. So like Summer Jam, Winter Brawl, NEC, all that stuff. And I was like, I'm just going to go to everything that I can. I remember our very first like Red Bull Conquest event. It was in the basement of a bar in Philadelphia, kind of like downtown. Mm-hmm. And this was like one of those first times where I said, I'm going to try my luck for everything that I've learned about Street Fighter 5. I'm going to play. Like, I'm going to compete. Not just I'm happy to be here. I'm going to compete. And building up to that event, I was like talking with Lucky D, because that's when I decided to play Dawson. Like Lucky D is like one of the best Dawson players, in my opinion, that's been doing it out here since like Street Fighter 4. And I messaged him on a whim. I said, hey, you don't know me from a can of paint. You play Dawson. I want to learn Dawson. Can you help me? And that man gave me the compendium of Dawson stuff that got me started. A good portion of it is finding your style to play the character, but then a lot of it is like, these are the scenarios you want to avoid. These are the scenarios you want to put your opponent in, and the rest is up to you to how you want to approach this character in the game.
Right.
That man like opened up my eyes to there's more to just pressing button do thing. I win, I lose. And that's really when I started to kind of like open up to kind of that like mental approach to fighting games, to like frame data and punishments and stuff. I think I was like 6th place, 5th place. If I would have won my next match, I would have played Sanford Kelly. And everyone was like, yo, Jeremiah, if you don't win, you'd have played Sanford. Like, okay, I'd have just played Sanford. Like, yeah. I'm not, at that time, I'm not thinking about like the player and their accolades, but that's not to say I'm taking away from the player and their accolades.
Of course.
I'm just thinking so much of, I'm just happy to compete. Mm-hmm. Like, that's when I truly shifted from I'm just happy to be here to I want to show that I can do it like everybody else is doing it. Mm-hmm. And that's when people started to realize, yo, you've really been putting time into this game. Because I was at every local, I was at every session, I was going to the tournaments that were like slightly outside of the city. Like I was taking hour bus rides to get there, hour bus rides to go home. I didn't even have a PS4 at the time. I was literally playing at these sessions to learn. And the fact that people are seeing like, whoa, you're not the same person that came in playing Street Fighter 4 and was like doo doo. Like you're learning, and like the fact that people are recognizing it, I'm not in it for the fame or fashion, but it's a
Right.
good feeling when the people you're surrounded by are telling you, yo, we see you. Like you're growing up, you're doing it. We're proud of you.
Yeah.
Like I started being on stream at events and like playing like higher level players and like things that I never thought of doing. And kind of where we are now. Like I started to get sponsored. I was at a point sponsored by like a couple of teams that were like, we'll pay for you to go to your locals or like win a major or something like that, or small things. And I wasn't really thinking of it. I'm just like, y'all want me to play for y'all? Okay, like I don't see myself as a big deal, but they seen something in me I didn't see in myself where I was willing to say sure. Uh, One event I ended up going to like Rumble in the Tundra in Buffalo, and then one event I went to like the Fall Classic in North Carolina. Um, and one of the biggest ones, I'll never forget this. So before I got sponsored by Hitbox, right? There was an organization that I played for called Witch Doctor. And I have nothing bad to say about Witch Doctor.
Yeah.
One of my closest friends, Big Dame, at the time was like the fighting game coordinator of the organization. And it was Big Dame, and it was like his second in command. His name was Capo, and Capo reached out to me and was like, Jeremiah, out of all of the people on the team, I see you the most hungry with the most potential. How would you feel if I sent you to Evo? And
Wow.
in all of my years of playing fighting games, I always seen Evo on stream. I never thought of myself going. I always seen like all the players going. Of course, you see like Evo moment 37. Everybody's like first like interaction with Evo, or like 801 Strider popping off on some little kid on stream. Like those are the moments I seen looking at the screen and seeing it happen. I never thought of myself going there.
Right.
So when he threw the offer out to me, I'm like, kidding, right? Like this is a really, really funny joke. Like, haha, you got me. Like, this is really funny. And then he was like, give me your phone number. I'm not kidding. So I gave him my phone number. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. This ain't happening. That man started sending me screenshots. He's like, here's our hotel reservation. What's
Wow.
your PayPal? I'm gonna send you the money so you can register. These are the dates that we're gonna be there, and this is when we're coming back. Make sure you take off of work. And as all of these things are coming together, I'm like, he's serious. He's actually serious. And at that time, it's not like I didn't have like the money or anything to go, but I had like so many other elements that I was thinking of in my life of like, I have other things that I want to focus on right now. As much as I love fighting games, like I'm trying to, save up some more money. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. So I was thinking I'll pass Evo this year. It's okay. We'll go another year. So it was maybe like a month before Evo 2019, and it really sat in. And like I was sitting at my desk, I was like playing Street Fighter Online. My hands were shaking. And I started to just cry because I'm like, holy crap! I started off just playing fighting games with my local community, and someone is sending me on their own money and volition to the largest fighting game tournament in the world because they believe in me. Not for nothing else. They expected nothing in return. They just believed in me to the point they wanted to send me there. And I cried. I mean, like the ugliest cry. And that was such a passionate thing for me because because my parents didn't really believe in me with fighting games. It was kind of just like, you're playing fighting games, whatever, this is a waste of time. Two, I wanted to prove to them that it wasn't a waste of time. And three, I get to meet some of the people that I've interacted with online so many times, the communities I've been involved with, the people at Hitbox, I got to meet them. So like all of that kind of just hit me at once, and I was just so excited to go. And I will forever, like, that will forever be ingrained as like one of the biggest moments in fighting games for me personally, because I never dreamed of myself going to Evo in that way. I was more like, all right, I guess I'll start saving for it in 2020. or after Evo for 2019, I'll go in 2020 because nobody knew the pandemic was going to happen. I was already thinking of Evo 2020 at that time. And at that moment, just it all came together. I got to go to Evo and meet like all the big wigs at Hitbox. I accidentally sold a Hitbox to a Facebook employee. I got to meet a lot of the Dawson. I finally got to meet like Commander Jesse and Dankadillis, and I got to hang out with Art and Henry Sen, like the whole like gang. But at that moment, like just like I felt when I went to my locals for the first time, I felt like I was at home. It just felt like it was so many family members, whether close or distant, that it just all came together. And I'm like, I never want this to end because I'm just enjoying playing fighting games so much. And it gave me that feeling like I did when I first stepped in, and I'm like, I'm just happy to be here. And I I got to compete and play against like the best players in the world. And I sent people home, people sent me home, but I enjoyed it so much. And that's what I just felt like fighting games to me is all about expressing my passion through my play. I'm not a person of a lot of words. I've always believed in the mentality of speak softly and carry a big stick. So when I play, I speak more through my play than I do as a person. And having the opportunities to do that, whether it's at my locals, whether it's at a major, whether it's at a regional, whether it's at Evo, or wherever else, I'm just glad that I can speak to so many different people through plugging in my controller and just playing my game. That's, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, that's the story of Jeremiah. That's the story of Phatboi. It means a lot more to me than like a lot of people know.
Yeah, that was epic, man. That was an epic tale, man. I'm happy I was here for that. I'm happy specifically that I was here for that. That was great. I loved it. Loved every second of it, man. Wow. All right. I'm not sure how do we even follow that up, man. But I want to get a little bit more personal. A little bit. Not a little bit more personal. Not that much more. I heard that like you have a favorite Pokemon. Your favorite Pokemon is Sableye.
Where are you finding this information? Wait a minute. How are you finding this stuff? You're right. But where are you finding this stuff?
Yo, man, like Nardwar would say, man, you're Phatboi. It's our job to know, man. We're supposed to know.
That's powerful. Yeah. I play competitive Pokemon. I still do to this day, actually. I play competitive Pokemon, and every team that I play has a Sableye. That is a must. It has to be shiny. It's a gold little nugget with the gems in his eyes, and he does nothing but just frustrate you. He'll use knockoff and take your item. All right, I'm switching to somebody else. He'll use Will-O-Wisp and burn you. You do half the damage. All right, I'm switching to somebody else. I just have to accept the fact that my playstyle in whatever game that I play is super annoying and frustrating. Whether it's a fighting game, whether it's not. I am here to make you play the long game. I think there was I won't name names because for a really good reason. I'll tell you later. I asked this person a question, and I'm like, I want to know how to get better at Dowsum. I feel like it's more of a mental thing than it is an execution thing. What am I missing? And to put it in a way that it's family friendly, you have to make your opponent understand that win or lose, that was the most infuriating experience they've ever had. If you can make them walk away and feel like that, you've won. And that opened my eyes because I realized that's been my play style. I just have to accept the fact that that's my style and apply it. That's really what it is.
So, keeping in with getting a little bit more personal, Arizona drinks and the fast food restaurant Cookout. So,
Ooh, I love me some Cookout.
Yeah, near and dear to you, huh? Like, are they you have any other food spots other than that you would say like? But why are those specifically? Like, do you like why are those specifically your like? Are those your favorites? Would you say that they're maybe like close favorites, or maybe there's something else that that you would consider up in like the top echelons of like food spots or drinks, something like that? Like, how do you feel about that stuff?
Cookout to me is like really personal because even though I am in Philly, I'm actually from North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was born. I just came here at an early age. So when people ask, for all intent and purposes, I normally just say I'm from Philly, man. But when I went to TFC, like I think it was like 2018 or 2019, me and Afro went. And the whole year leading up to that, I'm like, Afro, when we go, you have to go to Cookout. There's no excuse. You have to go to Cookout. And he's like, bro, it can't be that good for you to be hyping it up for an entire year. So Cookout has this thing that's called a cookout tray, right? You get like an entree, 2 sides, and a drink for like $5 or $6. And it's like dinner. It's like dinner. Like you eat that, you're ready to go to sleep. So when we got to North Carolina, I think it was like Friday night when we got in. It was like me, Afro, Big Dame, and like one of our other friends, Squadgy, and Vesper, a dude from Delaware. So we all got there. Afro was like, "Where's the nearest Cookout?" And him and Dame went, and I was like, "I'm just tired. I just need to sleep for a little bit." So I sent him the money. I'm like, "Get me this." I was like, "I already know what I want. Get me this. I'll text it to you. Send me a picture of the receipt. I'll cash app you the money." So he goes to Cookout with Dame. He comes back, and he got a Cookout tray too. So mine was like a burger, some onion rings, some fries, some hush puppies, and like a milkshake. Now, I'm lactose intolerant, but I took 2 lactate pills. I'm like, I'll just suffer the consequences later. I don't care. I just want a Cookout milkshake. I don't care. Afro got like it was like a quesadilla wrap, some hush puppies, some fries, and like a sweet tea. And I told him, I said, you have to do me one favor. Before you take a bite in the Cookout, I have to record this because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I woke up out of my slumber, took my phone out. I'm like, now take a bite of this quesadilla wrap, whatever you got. Tell me what you think about it. Take a bite out of everything at least once. So he took a bite out the quesadilla. He's like, this ain't bad. He got to the hush puppies and he's like, see why you hyped this up for a whole year. That whole weekend, every time we got food, he's like, are we going to Cookout? Are we going to Cookout? So we were at Cookout at least like 4 or 5 times during that tournament. So Cookout to me is important because that's culture. To me, that's definitely culture.
Yeah.
Outside of Cookout, can't go wrong with Bojangles. Bojangles are
yeah.
And bowl rounds. And then there's this spot. It's more like a mom and pops kind of spot. When I was growing up, there was this place called the Murphy House. And it sucks because it's not like a chain restaurant. It was legit like a kind of like a diner that they made that they converted out of like an old building that they just made into a diner. So the Murphy House was like an all-you-can-eat buffet, all home-cooked Southern food. You paid like $8 or $9 and you got to eat until your stomach popped. Ooh. And I remember as a kid, it didn't matter what time you walked in. You could walk in at 8 in the morning. There was like the triple mac and cheese. Like when you pulled it apart, you just seen the cheese just oozing down. It was hush puppies. It was sweet tea. It was sweet potatoes, collard greens, the whole any African American delicacy that you could think of, you could walk in at breakfast time and it was there. You'd have your breakfast food. You'd have like your pancakes and your waffles and your sausage and your sausage biscuits with the gravy, all that good stuff. But no matter when you walked in, every black delicacy, cooked fresh, piping hot. I wish I could go back to being a kid because that spot, that's all I can say. The food was just that good. You'd go home and you would sleep the mightiest sleep you could ever imagine. And they let you take it to go plate. So you got to eat your fill. And they gave you like the styrofoam container and you could just, whatever you could put in there. Put some put some mac and cheese in there, put some sweet potatoes, put a biscuit, some biscuit gravy, some hush puppies, wrap it up, take it home with you. You would take your eye to sleep. You'd wake up and you're like, it's right here. I'm ready to do it again. I'm ready to do it again.
Do your itis sleep, man? I mean, like that's basically, man. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is the actual scientific term for it.
It has to, at this point. It has to be, because there's your regular sleep. There's like different stages. There's your nap. You had a long day at work. You just come home. You just need a nap. You got your sleep. I'm just tired. I'm ready to get my 6 to 8 hours. Then there's the itis, where like the next 2 to 3 hours, you are in a coma. Nobody will hear from you. You are completely gone from the world. You don't exist, and then you come back, you just feel like a new man.
Yeah, right? Oh my goodness. The best kind, right? Like the best kind, especially if you know that you got food waiting for you when you wake up, right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So, you like bowling, huh? You like really like bowling? Like
Yeah.
So,
bowling since I was like a kid, like single digits.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that was a family sport.
All right, well, tell me about that. Tell us a little bit about Phatboi's bowling career.
All right, so I'm gonna tell you about this, right? So, when I was a young lad and I used to bowl, I was given an alternative name. So, I was given a nickname by like one of the big wigs that was there. So, my mom, she had this friend, right? He was cool people, not like friend where like black folks would be like, that's your uncle, and then they just dating somebody, but they want to put it nicely. Nah, they were like actually just like real cool. So there was this dude, I never knew his real name. I just knew him as Taz. That's what his name was. I knew him as Taz. Everybody in the bowling alley knew him as Taz. So Taz kind of took me under his wing, and Taz had like kind of like a group of people, and they're kind of like their big thing was that they always had on like these jerseys, kind of like football jerseys, kind of. Mm-hmm. And that was always kind of like their signature thing. So even though I was like really young, Taz kind of was like, Jeremiah, I really want to see you get better at bowling. So Taz would pay for me to like have games like after league was over. Like the bowling alley would basically be empty for like 3 or 4 hours. So the next league session came up, Taz would just go up front and say, yo, here's money, put Jeremiah on whatever lane he wants, let him bowl for like 2 or 3 hours. And I just bowl, and it was a great time. He'd buy me food. He'd like, just, if you want something to eat, go put it on my tab. Like, don't worry about anything, bowl, have fun, and try to learn from your mistakes. So it got to a point where like, if you seen Taz, you seen me. So they kind of like jokingly called me Low Taz, and it stuck. So they'd be like, there's Taz and Low Taz. And Taz got to a point where he was like, you know, everybody's been calling you Low Taz. You might as well make it official. So homie got me like my own like jersey like everybody else. And I'll never forget, it was like the Bumblebee yellow jersey. And on the back of it in black lettering said Low Taz. So
wow,
that was kind of awesome. Like how I grew up. And my bowling alley for a while, everybody just knew me as Low Taz. Even when I was kind of like in my teenage years, they were like, yo, that's Low Taz. I'm not like 6 or 7 anymore. I'm like 14, 15. Like it's a time y'all gotta let this go. But nah, they stayed with me as Low Taz.
Wow.
So I bowled up until like college. In high school, I bowled for my high school team. They gave me scholarship money to go to college. College, I bowled in college. I was bowl of the year in like 2000 from my bowling alley. Mm-hmm. I was sanctioned to go to tournaments for a while. Like I had my own like custom bowling ball and the whole shebang. Like even when I was in college and like I took bowling as an elective because I'm like, this is a free credit. I already know how to bowl. I'm just gonna take the free credit. So they would take us to the bowling alley like once a week, twice a week. And they like the goal was like so to pass the day, you need to either like, there's always kind of like a challenge, like get X amount of spares or get a score of at least this or beat the person next to you. Mm-hmm. And nobody wanted to bowl me. They were like, I don't want to bowl against Jeremiah. Because I took my personal bowling ball from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh. because I'm like, I'm not using their gear. I don't know what condition it's in. I don't know what to expect. I was like, I'm just gonna use my own gear. And the teacher was like, I don't have anything to teach you. You just bowl. You'll pass me here, just bowl.
Wow. So you, this guy came in as a bowling expert from Jump Street, huh? He just came in as a
Yeah, everybody else was kind of like, some wanted the bowl, some wanted the elective credit. I'm like, I'm just here for a good time. I'm just happy to be here. Like, that seems to be my motto of life. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good motto. Definitely a good motto, man. Speaking of, like, did you have that kind of, like, same motto when you were working at Planet Fitness? Or, like...
What did you... What? Well, yo, did y'all just deep dive me? Did y'all just figure out my whole life? Yo. Okay. So Planet Fitness was actually a really, like, interesting time. So that was while I was in college. I'm like, I just want some extra, like, pocket money. And one of the dudes that I was on, like, a fighting game team with, he was the manager of, like, a Planet Fitness. So I wanted the extra money just to, like, go to events and stuff. So, like, I was willing to pay out of my own pocket since my mom was like, this isn't something productive. You know, if you want to go, get your own money. I'm not sending you. All right, I'll go get my own money then. So, homie put me on with a job at Planet Fitness. I would work nights. I would, like, clean the equipment and stuff. And it wasn't a bad gig. It was just weird hours. That was the only thing about it. So I would, like, stream. I would wake up. I would stream for the team that I was playing for. Then I would take, like, a power nap, go to work, come back home. And then, like, if I had school the next day, whatever. But it wasn't a bad time. It was just weird hours. And it made me realize, I'm like, this isn't my field. I'm literally here for the money. But it got to a point where I knew that I didn't want to be there anymore. And some of the management were kind of like jerks. So when I left, I'm like, I'm going to be really, really petty when I leave. So the day that I decided to leave, maybe like 5 minutes before I was supposed to be there, I'm like, oh yeah, I quit. Like that was the text. I'll never forget. I was I think I went to like CVS to like grab some snacks or something. And I looked at the time. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be at work. I quit.
So I guess we can go ahead and assume that you were in fact not happy to be there.
At first, I was like, this isn't bad. Like it's nice. It started. You ever been to a job where they are really nice to you to get you in the door, but then once you're settled, it is the exact opposite.
Oh yeah.
It was that. It was 100% that. It wasn't the coworkers. The coworkers were great. I enjoyed what they brought to the table. I was still the introvert of the group, so I was kind of just like hi and bye. That was me.
Yeah.
I would go and do my job. I put my music in and just vibe. But it was definitely more of the management than it was anything else. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, you know what? I don't care to put this on my resume. And I'm pretty sure even if they called for reference, they wouldn't say nice things about me. So I'm going to just go out with a bang. I quit 5 minutes before my shift. No fear.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. I mean, you know, the thing is like, at some point, you know, you just got to you just be like, you're just like, you know what? Forget it. I'm done. I'm all done with this place. I've completely disengaged. I quit.
That's exactly what it was. Like I had no energy or drive to be there. Like before, It was like I signed up for this job. I'm providing a service of some capacity, but once it like got to a point where like mentally I wasn't even there, and I'm like, I just feel like I'm obligated to be here. I'm like, nah, this ain't it. Get me out of here.
Get me out of this job.
Instead of let me in, it was like, let me out. Let me out.
Oh man. So one thing I'd like to ask you, and this is kind of a, you know, what are words of advice that you would give somebody who's trying to grow within the FGC?
This is a classic line, and I'm a firm believer in it, especially like since where I'm at now. Support your locals. Like, I don't care if it's like 3 dudes playing in somebody's basement. I don't care if y'all got like a 5,000 square foot land center, support your locals, because those those are the people that will mean the absolute most to you, no matter where you go. Whether you just decide to stay casual, whether you decide to be a content creator, a competitor, a tournament organizer, those are the people that will steer you in the direction you want to go. In most cases, those people will not steer you wrong. You know, it goes without saying not everybody is in it for your best interest. But I'm
Right.
not out here saying that those people in your community are going to be like that. Those people are there, and they've probably seen hundreds, tens, or hundreds of people come in and out of that community. Some of them, you know, being the ones that made it into like top players or like big time tournament organizers or whatever. But the thing that you never want to forget is don't bite the hand that feeds you. Because those people that are there day in and day out, the Johnny Donuts and the pedal pencil pushers, those are the people that you really have to like respect. Like they may have been there literally from day one when it was just a bunch of dudes in a basement. Like you never want to forget those people. Like for me, I'll never forget like the people that were there for me since day one. Like in my personal scene, my boy Phil, my boy Ivan, Veda, Fu, Evan, like all of those dudes, like the OG, like a lot of those, Lamar, all of those are OGs that put me in the right direction. When I was doing something wrong, they were like, nah, bro, this ain't it. When they were like, this person is on some real shady stuff, you should be careful. They were the people who looked out for me the most. Gabe, I'm naming names because like all of these people, they invested parts of themselves into me.
Mm-hmm.
Like the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. All of the dudes in the Philly scene took the time to raise me. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to. They could have just said, he just here to play, whatever. But they clearly seen something in me that however they decided to, you know, invest in me, whether it was to play games, whether it was to like help me learn, whether I did something wrong and they were there to like correct me, those are the people you never want to forget about. But because those people are your local people.
Yeah.
Those are the faces that when you're playing on stream, those are the faces you could turn around and you'll see those people in the crowd. I have pictures of me at majors where I can look behind me in those photos and I can see all those people there. Those are the people that will be there when you win. Those are the people that will be there when you lose. Those will be the people that will be there when you money match and it all goes wrong. Whatever the case may be, those are the people that will always have your back. So if you're looking to get started, please do not omit those individuals because they will play more of a factor and your time in the community more than you will know.
Definitely words to live by in the FGC. Thank you very much, Phatboi. I really appreciate you coming on. I mean, we pretty much you got anything else that you'd like to say? Any closing remarks you'd like to leave us with at the end?
Uh, as always, like thank the Philly community for everything that you've done for me and still do for me to this day. Um, all of you are amazing people, whether it's people that were there when I started or people that have started their journey as I started mine. All of you are very important individuals to me. I say this to them all the time. My community is more family than my real family is, and I love them to bits and pieces. And I know I'm hard on them, and I'm like really stern and cold sometimes, but I want those people to know that I truly care for y'all, and I will forever be thankful for everything that you've done and will continue to do for me. Shout outs to Commander and Afro from Iron Fist Philly. Those two have been like, they've grown into my closest friends, and I wouldn't be where I am without them. My brother Gaming Bros, that's my day one. That man is a genius behind any graphics or animations or whatever you want to see. Even that man is a family man, but he still will do anything that he can for his community. Um, Shout outs to Sneaker O'Toole and Fu, the people that really, if I never would have seen that stream, if I never would have went there, those are the people, those are the faces that I seen. Like we would not be talking now if those
Mm-hmm.
two people weren't a part of my life in any capacity. Um, Shout outs to Lucky D from Boston for helping me grow as a player. Jackie Tran from I'm not sure if he's Cali or Vegas. He's West Coast, but he's been my mentor for Tekken. Shout outs to him. Um, just everybody who's really supported me, and there's still more for me to do. Thank you so much. And of course, thank everybody at Hitbox for believing in me. Dustin, Cam, Sora, Sean, all of them, Trophy, all of you are amazing people. Thank you for taking that chance on me. And I'll continue to create content, help people become the best cheaters they can be. And I'm glad to find my spot in this community within the community where my talent and my passion for what I do can help others.
That was beautiful, man. That was beautiful. I love it. I was about to tear to my eye, man. I loved it. I mean, well, that's pretty much the end of our interview, man. Like, I really appreciate you coming in. Words of wisdom, definitely. What a story. What a story, man. Thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate you, bro. Like,
I'm glad to be here. As I said before, I'm just happy to be here.
there you go, man. Well, everybody, this is pretty much the end of our interview of our boy Phatboi. Phatboi, why don't you let us know what are the your socials and stuff that we can see you at? Twitter, Twitch, maybe a Facebook, perhaps. Like, let us know, man.
I feel like y'all might have found the Facebook already. That might have been how y'all found some of my stuff. But for you lovely people out there who may not know me, I'm Phatboi. I do a lot of content solely focused around Hitbox related products. So Hitbox, cross up, a little bit of Smashbox here and there. If you're interested in that, feel free to follow me on any of my socials. On Twitter, this is Phatboi, PHATB0I. Very important. Whoever the person is that just has Phatboi, just by itself, I hope you step on a Lego. Twitch.tv/this is Phatboi. YouTube, I'm working on trying to get to 100 subs so I can get the custom URL. But that'll be the hub for any tutorials, any tournament footage, or anything else. That's where you'll find that stuff. You can type in "this is Phatboi"; it'll probably just pop up on YouTube. But definitely across all platforms, that's where you'll find all my stuff. Feel free to hit me up for any questions. If you want to just share Hitbox photos or whatever the case may be, I'm not a stranger. Feel free to hit me up for anything.